Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Satara Sachi Srimati Divine Grace. Vaichanavapinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parapakacharya Satara Sachi Srimati Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Guru Parampara Ki. Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Shri Bhadranath Shri Bhagavapala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Namacharya Shila Harita Astakur Ki. Vimsko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Gir Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Navatvik Mayapur Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Munmaya Ki. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki. Shri Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Assembly of Devotees. All glories to the Assembly of Devotees. All glories to the Assembly of Devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnu Bhuta Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharini. Nirvishesha Srimavadi Pacharini. So I'm very happy to be with you today, and I've been requested to speak on the topic how to deal with challenges in devotional service and challenges or difficulties in our devotional life. I will read from the Bhagavatam, the first canto, chapter 8. Chapter 8 are the prayers of Queen Kunti. The prayers of Queen Kunti. And we will discuss verse 25. First we'll read the Sanskrit and the translation and the first part of the purport of Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I read the Sanskrit, no need to repeat, just I read it. Vipada Santata Sasvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yasyat Apnarbhava Darshanam. Translation. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and death. Now, the purport, Srila Prabhupada. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only regardless of status cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. When we have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable abode for crossing the ocean of nations, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hooves of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with a place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without trace of calamity. The duty of the same person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering of all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization, because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities. Therefore, the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger, and there is no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all a gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a step forward on the path of going back to Godhead. So, read the verse again. Vibhada santatat sat vatatra tatra jiratku bhavato dakshanam yatsat apunar bhava dakshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will not longer see repeated birth and death. So, Queen Kunti, she prays for calamities, difficulties in her life. She prays for it. So, would the same person do that? Desire to get more and more suffering, calamities? No, only a crazy person would desire to have miseries when there are no miseries. Before, in the previous verses, Queen Kunti said to Krishna, she mentioned many of the calamities that happened in our life. And we hear of these calamities, of course, in the Mahabharata, that she said, she spoke about Bhima was poisoned, offered a poisoned cake that, of course, Bhima liked to eat. He had a strong body, and he devoured the cake which was offered to the borders of Duryodhana, and he fell unconscious. He fell unconscious because the cake was full of poison, and they bound him up with cords all over his body and made it heavy with stones and put him into the river, and he sank to the bottom, still unconscious. But then, by Krishna's arrangement, he was on the bottom of the lake, and some poisonous snakes came, and they started to bite him. But that poison of these snakes counteracted the poison of the cake, and he became conscious. And in addition, it gave him an immense power, and he broke out of the ropes, and and then that's because so many intrigues happened in the palace of Dhritarashtra, and they made a plan, and Mother Kunti mentions that also, they were sent to a house of luck, because the Dhritarashtra invited them to go to a summer house and have a vacation there, but the house was made of a very flammable material, like and of course they were informed in an indirect way by Vidura. He wrote them in a very indirect way what was happening, and they were able to escape when they put the house on fire before they had made a tunnel to escape. But that night, when the fire was there, just before, they had guests, a family, and there were be 5. But when the fire broke out, then the Pandavas and Queen Kunti could escape to the tunnel. But these guests, unfortunately, they burned with the house, and so the Pandavas, the Dhritarashtra heard of the burning and about that they found 5 burned bodies. So they were okay. They said, "Oh, the Pandavas died," but they went to the tunnel, and Bhima, who was very strong, took all the Pandavas on his arms and was running to the forest to be as far away as quick as possible from this house. But then, after running so far, then they met Hidimba. Hidimba was a Rakshasa, a man-eater, and then he had to fight with them. All these calamities happened one after another, and they were exiled to the forest for so many years. And then there was the Battle of Kurukshetra, 18 days. Battle in 18 days, and millions of people died. And then after the Battle of Kurukshetra, all the calamities were finished. It was a time for celebration. But one can say, yes, maybe after all that happens, their mind was too devastated. They were bewildered, and Queen Kunti wanted to suffer. So we have also this tendency. I know I've seen the Jesuits. They have a process called self-flagellation. It's they are torturing themselves because they consider the body is bad. We have to keep it under control. And maybe we can say, yes, Queen Kunti was in the same state, but Queen Kunti's situation is different. So she realizes material nature is dangerous. And there's a moment of fall down every moment. Allurements of material nature are many. And she knew the only way to get happiness is to take shelter of Krishna. That's the only way. But she realized, when I went to all these calamities, all these difficult times forced her to take shelter of Krishna. They had no chance than in their situations, these Pandavas, than calling out to Krishna, help, and Krishna would come and help them, and they would be very happy. But she's on the highest level of love of God. We know there are 9 stages to come to love of God. First is Shraddha, you need some faith and to hear from a Swami or so who introduces you to Krishna consciousness, and then you like the prasadam, you come back and you get some faith after hearing and reading Bhagavad Gita and then you associate with the devotees, sadhu, sangha, and so on. You receive initiation after some time, and then Bhajana Kriya, you start to practice. In the beginning a struggle, but then gradually the heart becomes purified of all unwanted desires, anartha nivritti. And then you become nishtha, steady in your devotional service, and the heart becomes pure. And then you become attracted to Krishna. And then after being attracted to Krishna, you think always of Krishna in your heart, and you feel Krishna in your heart. That's a Shakti. And then you start to feel love for Krishna. And that love, when it matures, that feeling of love that comes is bhava. And when it matures, then one attains prema. So these are the 9 different stages. And one can say, yes, that that's it, attains prema. But no, prema has also different stages. That sneha, pranaya, mana, raga, anuraga, bhava, that's another bhava, and mabhav. And Queen Kunti was on anurag. Developed this great love for Krishna. And this anurag stage of prema, Jiva Goswami speaks about that stage. Jiva Goswami. He says the symptom of anurag is that the devotee, he treasures Krishna consciousness so much, and by thinking of Krishna is deriving so much from it, so much pleasure from it, that whatever price one has to pay to get it, whatever price one has to pay to get Krishna and to get Krishna's service, that then to get that ecstasy, they are prepared to pay any price. The price to pay is nothing with compared to what you get. So that is the position of Queen Kunti. But we are on a different level. Of course, one who is on that level has lost the awareness that he has a body. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Inasmin Chatade Kamaram Chavnam Charata Tadi Antara Prokti Dhyastat Anuyat. We have all a body. We are eternal souls in a body, and the body changes from body to youth to old age, then byproducts, reproduction, then old age, and then you leave the body. And Krishna says you have to tolerate that. But she's on a much higher level. She's forgotten her material body. She's on this level of Krishna prema. She's like a drunken man. A drunken man may have he's not aware whether he wears his clothes or not. And she was like that. She was so absorbed in Krishna. So she's on the highest level of love of God. For her, without Krishna, it's not worth of living. So she thinks, yeah, every time I cry out for calamities, if calamities comes, difficulties comes, then Krishna comes. So the question is, should we pray for difficulties in our lives? No need to do that. We are born in Kali Yuga. In this times, Kali Yuga, a stroke of 435,000 years, or a little more, that if one is born in this Kali Yuga, means you have a lot of bad karma. Otherwise, you don't take birth in this age. So, calamities will come on his own accord. You don't have to pray for that. That's the advantage of Kali Yuga. You have difficulties. It comes on his own accord. And that's what the Bhagavatam said. Tasheva itapayate dukovtu nalapyate yatpamatam yaparada talapyate dukava anyatuskam kalena savatu gabira ramasa. The verse that you should spend your life searching for that happiness, which is not available from the lowest planet to the highest planet. And what happiness in this world is concerned, you don't have to strive for it. It will come on its own accord as distress comes. Calamities, distress comes. Do we want it? No, we don't want it, right? But it comes on its own accord. In the same way, happiness will come. And nothing we can change on it. Because this body, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, this body is a product of is a reaction of our actions in previous lives. Everything you've done in your previous lives, in this life, all situations you get are a reaction. And Krishna wants us to be fair. You have done that in the past, this is your reaction. That action, reaction. In this world you want to enjoy, you must pay with suffering. That is this world, the material world. It's horrible. It's in Bhagavad Gita. Ye samsvasyabhara dukayana evate atyantvam tekantya natishramatu buddha. The sages declare that if you want to enjoy, the result of enjoyment will be suffering. And the enjoyment is not worthwhile. It is for the body. It's temporary. So that is a problem. But we need to deal with difficulties in our lives. So it's important we cultivate the understanding that we depend on Krishna. We are not independent. All the circumstances that we get is our previous karma. But Krishna decides which karma that you get from your own storehouse of karma. If one kills a cow, then eats meat or whatever. Killing a cow, how long does it take? 20 minutes? And Krishna says the reaction of killing a cow is that you have to take birth again. As much are the hairs on the body of the cow. How many hairs are on the body of the cow? It's millions of births. And you do it in 20 minutes. So Krishna is going to decide which part of karma you get now. So we depend on Krishna. But Krishna consciousness is so powerful. It destroys all your past karma just by chanting Krishna's names with the right inner attitude. We don't see it with our eyes, but it is the most powerful mantra, this Ma mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we have different kinds of karma. Prarabdha karma, aparabdha karma. The prarabdha karma is this body. This body is a reaction, and it's running out. But aparabdha karma is all the karma which is in seed form, which is still to come out. And Krishna consciousness, if we think of Krishna, we take shelter of Krishna, then all this karma is destroyed. But what does it mean, taking shelter of Krishna? We must give up first our strive to be happy in this world, all the attachment. And Queen Kunti explains that in the next verse. It says, Shanmashvara Shruta Shibir Edamana Vadampuram Naivra Datum Vai Tvamakinshana Kochara. There are 4 intoxications which causes us to be absorbed in this world and the pleasures of this world, and which causes you to suffer. We are not his body, Bhagavad Gita says. We are the consciousness in this body, which is the soul. And the soul is eternal. We have nothing to do with this material world as a spirit soul. But we are covered by this gross and subtle body. So Queen Kunti says that there are 4 intoxications. If our consciousness is pure, as in the case of Queen Kunti, then you can always think of Krishna. You can connect with the divine energy. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the Mahatma, the great soul, Mahatmanastu Mayam Parta Devim Pragati Ashita. The great souls always connect with the divine energy, with the spiritual energy. And how does the Mahatma do that? Explained in the next verse. Satatam kirtayantus mam yatanta shadritavata. With great determination, they always do kirtan, chant Krishna's names. But to chant Krishna's names with feeling and to pray to Krishna with feeling, we must give up first these intoxications, because they are the cause of our suffering. And the first is Janmashvara, Janma. I think I have a good birth. I took birth in America, very auspicious. I'm better than all the others. That's a problem. That's attachment to the body. Because the body is born here, we are attached to the land and to the nation and so on. That's the first kind of attachment. And Aishvarya is the next. The next material attachment or intoxication is opulence. This is mine and for my enjoyment. That goes straight against the truth. The truth is not that things belongs to us. Things belongs to Krishna. He's the proprietor of everything. That we did not make the sand. Glass is made for sand. We did not make the sand. We did not make the vegetables. It's not by us that they grow. It's all under control of Krishna. So this sense of proprietorship is our enemy. Keeps us in this world. We should see that everything belongs to Krishna and things may be under our care. Then we use it in Krishna's service. That's the right vision. So the attachment is within, which is wrong. An attachment to beauty is there for a few years and then gone. Or attachment of being learned, a great scholar. It's not by scholarship one can understand spirituality. You think, yeah, I can quote Sanskrit and I have a good memory, I can explain things nicely, but that will not help you. It's the inner attitude which is important, the service attitude. So if one is attached to these intoxications, Queen Kunti said, you cannot pray to the Lord with feeling. Because finally, we are in this world to enjoy. That's what we want. The spirit soul, the Upanishad said, is Ananda Vyasat, is pleasure seeking at every moment. But we are seeking it in this world, and that is wrong. Because our connection with this world is this body, which we are not. Suppose you have all the wealth of the world. Suppose everything is going nice in your life. But it's cheating. At the end you die. You have to leave this body. It's all for nothing at the end. What is the goal of life? The goal of life is to get free from this birth, death, old age and disease and go back to the spiritual world when we can be eternally free. That's intelligence, and that's what Queen Kunti says. It doesn't matter what price I have to pay. I want always to think in great love, because that's the qualification to go back to the spiritual world. And even within this world, if we can change our consciousness to Krishna consciousness, there's no suffering anymore. We suffer because of our attachment. This is mine, and this is for my enjoyment. So that is important, because we are a spirit soul and we want enjoyment. But Krishna consciousness means the enjoyment of the soul. And this enjoyment is called Bhakti Ras. It lies in our relationship with Krishna. Our relationship with God, with Krishna, we have forgotten by all this attachment, by these intoxications. Krishna and Queen Kunti said, give that up. Give that up. And come to the point of, if you give that up, then you can take shelter of Krishna. That you can think of him. You can chant and remember him. So that's the purification of the heart. Because this purification of the heart, how do we know that our heart is impure? Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. attachment to things in this world. Fear. We become full of fear because we think we are this body, and this body gets diseased, can be injured, can die. But we are so bewildered that we think if the body dies, I'm finished. But your consciousness will not be finished. You go to the next destination. And if you are Krishna conscious at the time of death, your consciousness will not be interrupted. It will continue. You will be transported. If you are on the spiritual realm, the transcendental realm, your consciousness never ceases. So it's a change of consciousness. Change of our inner attitude, our vision of the world, and change our desires. Because that's what the soul does, change our desires. That if we give up this attachment in this world, to this world, means give up our desires to enjoy things in this world, which are temporary and full of misery. And then we can work on our relationship with Krishna. So calamities, how do we see calamities? We get suffering in our lives. So the first thing to deal with it is explained in the Bhagavatam. Tatena kampam samikshamo punchatmai vapakitampi pakam ritvakva probir vidadam namaste jivetyo muktibade sadayava. The devotee thinks, I'm suffering because I did stupid things in my previous life. I did all these sinful activities, trying to enjoy the property of Krishna for I and mine. And Krishna gives me now the suffering. So whatever suffering comes, relations go bad, that someone is very rough with you, means I've been very, very rough with someone in my previous life. But the devotee realizes that these are all the reactions. And he looks at these reactions. He becomes an observer of the reactions. Why do we suffer? Because we identify with the mind. That's the cause of all our suffering. But we are not the mind. Our suffering is experienced within the mind. And we think that's our suffering, because I'm the body. But the devotee who is spiritual advanced, if you chant Hare Krishna on a regular basis and follow regulative principles, you will get the power not to identify with this mind. Not to identify with it. You become the observer of the mind. Because the suffering, it's like if you go to the dentist and they are doing their drilling, then it is like, yes, time is going very slow. And it's very difficult to overcome it. Because we identify with the mind. But yes, we see the world through our mind. We see the world through our mind. And the mind is like a cinema. You go, like in a cinema hall, you see on the screen some a whole story going on, and we become emotionally attached to it, and we identify with the film, and we feel the happiness and the distress. Sometimes people start to cry, and sometimes they laugh because they identify with it. But in reality, nothing is going on there. It's just some light on the screen. The same is with our mind. If suffering is going on, or pleasure going on, the same thing. We identify with the mind, we think it's our pleasure and our suffering. But we are not this mind. We have an original spiritual mind, but that's something else that develops when you become Krishna conscious. But if we identify with the mind, we suffer. But becoming Krishna conscious becomes the observer. Take a seat back and observe what's going on into the mind, and not identify with it. And the devotee sees his suffering and thinks, oh, that's the reaction of my past misdeeds. And Krishna gives me only a token, a bit of the reaction, because I want to become a devotee. Because Krishna decides which karma you get of your storehouse of karma. He decides that. So, if we want to deal with calamities in our mind, we have to learn not to identify with the mind and tolerate it. And then we are ready to go to the spiritual plane. If we tolerate it and not try to identify with the mind, but control the mind, instead of thinking of all these difficulties you have, which are temporary. We think of Krishna. So many difficulties in our lives. 50 years ago, I had so many difficulties with so many people. They are all dead now. What with the difficulties? Huh? Do I still to think about it? It's all gone. It's all temporary. So the point is, don't take it so serious. Soon you are out of this body. Think always, tomorrow the body can die. And what then with all the plans you have? It's all gone. Therefore think of Krishna. Learn to think of Krishna. And you can only do that really, Queen Kunti, if you give that up, this attachment. And then you can think of Krishna with love. And then you come to a platform which is called BPRS. You think of Krishna and you feel ecstasy because of the love. And that is what Queen Kunti experiences. So she said, all these material things, I don't care for it. But these difficulties come, okay, it helps me to think of Krishna. So I use it. But for us it's a gradual process. And if you become a devotee and are serious in spiritual life, Krishna says, Ananta Sintyantamam Yechna Payapaste Tesham Nityabhyuknam Yogakshem Vamyam. Then Krishna says, I will take care of you. I will protect all the spiritual advancement that you have, and I will give you more opportunities to make spiritual advancement. He organizes your life to help you to break your attachment. Especially when you feel too weak to give them up. He may break them by force sometimes. This is Krishna helping us. So calamities, difficulties is Krishna's hand, especially for devotees. Then we can give up our attachment. That many devotees have experienced that. Krishna helps. He helps sometimes in forms which are not our plans. And sometimes we don't understand it in the beginning, but later on we think, yes, Krishna has helped me to give up this attachment. And that means we suffer to never suffer again, because we suffer because of this attachment. If you have a car and and I tell you, oh, there was an accident outside, two cars formed collision. You will say, oh yeah, that happens every day, what's the point? But if I tell you, someone just bumped into your car, my car, then it's serious and you suffer, even if there's a scratch in it. So that's attachment we have to keep up. Okay, these are some basic principles how to deal with calamities, difficulties in your life. Much more to say about it, but there are some major points, and I hope it may help you to reflect and help to reorganize your life. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Any questions? Maharaj, you mentioned that Krishna chooses which part of our karma he gives to us.
At what moment, yes.
In form of calamities or in other forms?
No, it may also be happiness and distress. Krishna gives both.
Which part of
Krishna
happiness and
Krishna is in control. He knows your karma, and you have karma in store for millions of years to come, and he's going to decide what part of the karma that you will get. Therefore, it's always good to pray to Krishna that he gives. Yeah. But of course, if we become Krishna conscious, we chant nicely and perform our devotional service, we think of Krishna, then this karma is destroyed. It's by thinking of Krishna. And the chanting makes us think of Krishna, direct meditate on Krishna. And if we think of Krishna, we heard in Shiel's Upanishad's class this morning, Krishna is Sudam, antiseptic. So then, by thinking of Krishna, purifies your heart and removes your karma. It's very powerful. So devotees would chant for 30, 40 years, nearly all their karma is gone. They are practically liberated or close to liberation. That's a fact. Yeah.
Maharaj, have you heard that devotees should chant a certain amount of rounds to get liberated? Like I heard that, I think it was in some scripture, like small book, I don't remember the name of it. It was said that devotees should chant like 55 million of rounds, or something like that, or 55 million of holy names to get liberated. I mean,
the point is, yeah, what purifies the heart? What purifies the heart is chanting without offenses. If one chants without offenses, that's Haridas Thakur said, that's namabhas. And this namabhas will remove all your karma very quickly. But the problem is, we are not chanting without offenses. There are 10 offenses we should respect the holy name, not thinking it's imagination, that we should follow or abuse it or use it for material purposes. But mostly we have still material desires, and we chant and we hope that Krishna will give us. That's a problem. Or we have difficulties with devotees. We are disrespecting them. We are not following the instructions of the spiritual master. These are all offenses, and we must overcome that. That's namaparat. And En de Harinam Chintamani is said to overcome Namaparat, you cannot counteract. Only by constant chanting of the holy names, finally one can come out of it. But of course, we can overcome these offenses. That's the point. And for that we have to hear the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita and so on, because when we hear that, then we develop a culture of respect and we become humble by hearing. So hearing should go together with the chanting, and that will get the effect. So it's not that you can put a number of rounds of it. No, it's a quality. If you don't give up the offenses, you can chant millions of years, you will not make much advancement. But this inner attitude, this change of heart, has to happen. And therefore it's good to become more sincere. And Queen Kunti said, yes, if there are difficulties, that's the time to become sincere, very sincere. You cry out to Krishna for help. So that's how we should chant the holy name. Like a baby cries for help. The mother knows when the baby cries, sometimes it's not serious, but when it's serious, the mother hears. And Krishna also hears if we are sincere, if we understand I'm a nonsense. I did all this nonsense in the past. Please, Krishna, forgive me. Please help me. And we'll become humble. Krishna will help. And that is the key. The key is not chanting a number of rounds. It's the quality of what we chant. But of course, constant chanting is always good. That helps in the long term also to overcome this Namaparat. But who can do it? That's a problem.
Another question, Maharaj. You mentioned that those material desires that we have then while we chanting, it's Namaparat, right? So, but let's say Grihastha, is it possible for Grihastha to have this kind of chanting that he doesn't have any material desires because he has to live in the material society, and he has to take care of so many material stuff in his life, and unconsciously he has those material desires in his mind. So is it possible for a Grihastha to attain that kind of quality of chanting without Namaparat?
Certainly we have examples who did it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he did it. Krishna consciousness is the art of living in this world without being attached to this world, without being with your consciousness in this world. That are all, that's an art to be learned. But certainly it can be done because of bhakti is so powerful. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, even Sudras, women and others can be purified, he says. So householders can also be purified. But of course, in the relationship, you have to see that the purpose of our marriage is to educate Krishna conscious children, for sure, and to support each other in spiritual advancement. Not in feeling good or be happy in this world. That's not the purpose of the Grihastha. Then you are on the wrong track. If you think I'm going to happen and I'm going to become happy by that. No, it's a cause of purification. And I think every householder knows that if you are married for 20, 30 years, then you are tolerant. Then you have proven something. Then you have the power of liberation. But then the scripture said at a certain moment, you have to give up this family life and take vanaprastha. Vanaprastha you can also take together, no problem. But you should dedicate more life, all your life then to the service of Krishna at a certain age. But household life is not a disqualification. In other yoga systems, that is a disqualification. You cannot go to a yoga ashram and being married, you must renounce, give up. I'm not speaking about yoga clubs in New York.
Thank you, Maharaj. Aparajit Prabhu, he has the question about the age of vanaprastha, the desirable age for people to become vanaprastha. Is it the same like Prabhupada said, like when you're 50 years old, you have to, to become a vanaprastha? Especially when the retirement age goes up every year.
So in principle, according to the Vedic culture, Kali Yuga, when you live up to 100 years, that's 25 years brahmachari, 25 years married life, 25 years vanaprastha, sannyas. So that's
sannyas 25 years as well, right? So all 25.
Yeah. Well, that's ideal, but we don't live so long. So Srila Prabhupada says, yes, take 50. 50 is the time to go out, exit. That is the best. So family life is temporary in spiritual ashram. But still, it is a spiritual ashram. And if you have the right spiritual focus, it will help you to advance, surely. And when you take vanaprastha and later sannyas and you have been married, you have experience. You will not fall back. You have learned your lesson. And that's very valuable. That you have. Yeah, and like I said, especially in Kali Yuga, if you have married for 30 years or something or more, you have a certificate tolerant. Otherwise, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Too difficult. Especially in this age. So much quarrel and so many issues. Yes.
Maharaj, do you observe many examples of devotees who become vanaprastha in ISKCON?
Well, I'm a member of the sannyas ministry, and I can say 90% of the applications, they have never been married. Only 10% have been married. So it's very rare that someone takes to sannyas after being married. But all those who went to it and do it, they are very qualified to take sannyas. That's good. They are very qualified in the sense that they have experience, and also in the preaching. I've also been married, but not in devotion, in my devotional life. And beyond my circumstances, I was divorced, but still I have the experience of being married. And it's valuable. Does that help?
I asked you about vanaprastha ashram, not sannyas ashram, vanaprastha ashram.
Vanaprastha ashram means certain moment, so Srila Prabhupada has opened the guest house in Vrindavan. And the guest house in Vrindavan was meant for the Vanaprasthas. Devotees who get older, they go to the holy Dham, and they live there and they do service. That and the wife and the husband can go there together, but they separate and they do service. That and that is Vanaprastha, and that is as good as sannyas. Sannyas is meant for parivrajaka. That means traveling preachers. That's the purpose. That was Prabhupada's purpose of sannyas, traveling and preaching, inspiring everyone. You come somewhere and they hear a new word, a new angle of vision and they get inspired. And that's the purpose. That's the attempt. The sannyasa by traveling preaching. But the Vanaprastha, yeah.
Parajit Prabhu, he asked about, Mahatma Prabhu, right? Mahatma Prabhu from Alachua.
Mm-hmm.
He says he still lives with his family.
Yeah.
And he's called Guru, right? And he's like around 75, right? 75. So it means what kind of ashram is that? Is it Vanaprastha, but he lives with his family?
And the purpose of Vanaprastha and sannyas is to dedicate your body, words, and minds fully to the service of the Lord. This is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. Iya yasya edasya karmana manasagari to Nikalasya bhavastasya jivan mukti. Shiva mukta uchate. So one who uses his body, mind, and words completely in the service of Krishna is a liberated person. And certainly, persons like Mahatma Prabhu is only busy with spreading Krishna consciousness, helping disciples, so many things. Only Krishna is the center. So that is acting as a liberated person. And that's the purpose of Vanaprastha and sannyas, to engage yourself in Krishna's service. And then we have also others. Sankarshan Prabhu was traveling all over the world with his wife as assistant in the preaching. The same thing. So that is as good as Vanaprastha or sannyas. That's the same. No difference between the sannyasi and them. Completely engaged in Krishna service. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Do you know many families like that? They are in Vanaprastha ashram and they travel, they preach.
It's rare.
It's rare, right?
Yeah. Okay, you had a question?
It's kind of like 3 parts to one question. The first part is ego. There's a lot of subtleties. There's very crude and then there's very subtle forms of ego. And a lot of times a subtle type of ego you're not even aware of.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, and then the second part is the superficiality and the heart, how to go beyond the superficiality of devotion and go deeper to the heart. I'm probably not explaining it right.
Yeah.
But I want to put out the idea.
Yeah.
And then the third has nothing different, is how long does one have to be practicing before taking the renounced order, even though you might have never been married, but I mean, you had relationships and stuff, but you never were officially married. So how long would someone have to wait or practice in order to take sannyas?
Yeah.
And so basically those 3, I don't know, they
don't
make sense, but
the first point is the false ego.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's very truthful. That we have a gross false ego, which is we are identifying with the gross body.
Right.
But But then the subtle false ego is identification with the mind.
Right.
And that's very difficult to give up.
Right.
And so in the beginning, when we chant through devotional service and practice, and we are sincere, we want to give up these things, then the gross identification goes, after a few years, get rid of it. You understand, I'm not my hand and my body, that's clear, that, and you know it's temporary, but then not identifying with the mind, that's more difficult. That,
Yeah.
and that becomes very subtle, like you want profit and distinction and so on. These are subtle false ego, and it's more difficult to give up. But the process of Krishna consciousness, like you said, mostly we are even not aware of it. But if we are advancing in spiritual life,
Right.
Krishna reveals us this false ego, and we become ashamed. But that's gradually, like you have an onion with many shells. Shell by shell is showing, not everything at the same time, because we cannot bear it. and it's a whole work. The gross work goes quick, but then the subtle work requires further purification.
So it seems like the name and fame part of the ego is harder is harder to give up than the sexual, because what keeps us in this world is the sex desire. But it seems like the name and fame, because it's a lot more subtle than the physical, the sexual attraction of this world. It seems like it's like that is very hard to give up, because it comes in different ways.
But it's related, because name and fame and sexual attractions go hand in hand.
Right.
That's the one. It's another form of prostitution, because you think that I'm doing something and I want the fame, but Krishna says I'm the doer.
Right.
I'm the doer, so the fame should go to him, not to you. You try to take the fame of someone else.
Right.
And it's like, that trying to attract people by that.
Right.
That it's kind of prostitution also. So, yes, it's deep rooted. The root, the deep root, the deepest root is envy of Krishna. And that's really the root of everything.
It's a very popular form of prostitution nowadays.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
That's giving up the false ego.
Right.
What was your second point again?
The second point was the superficiality and going more to the heart instead of the external form of devotional activity.
Yeah.
And going more. And then the third one was the renounce thing.
Yeah. The second thing is that we have bhakti, means Srila Prabhupada translates as devotional service. Devotion is the inner part.
Right.
And service is external.
Mm-hmm.
So many times, it's especially in the beginning, we do external, but the internal is not there.
Right.
Somewhere else.
Right.
And that's okay. But it will also purify us. But if we become purified, then the internal has to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important there. That contemplation, that I'm doing it for Krishna, not for me, consciously.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes later. In the beginning, we do it externally and we offer the result to Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
That's karma yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Then it must become bhakti yoga. We must do it with our heart. consciously to please Krishna. And that takes a while. That like, it was here in 22nd Avenue, Brahmananda was here. And Brahmananda came to Prabhupada and said, oh Swamiji, you said that we have to bow down for the spiritual master, but I don't feel bowing down. And Srila Prabhupada said, you bow down, the feeling will come later. So that's the point. We have to be a little patient and it will come. And the third part of sannyas is Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that for one who is not renounced internally, who is not purified in heart, sannyas will be troublesome. Should not take sannyas. So you must be purified. Purified means all the biggest attraction to this world, to enjoy, you must give up. You must control your senses, and you must, dedicate your life to Krishna only. So that's required, because if the heart is not pure, you want to do something else. It will not, you will fall down at a certain moment. So you must be nearly pure, especially this profit and distinction must go. If you still want to have things for yourself, don't take sannyas. That's the and then the qualifications for sannyas are mentioned in the beginning of the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Abhaya Sattva Samsudir Jnana Yoga Vyavastiti. One who takes sannyas, be abhay, means fearless, preaching fearless. Abhay. Sattva Samsudir. But such a person must always strive for purification of the heart. Jnana Yoga Vyavastiti. It should be learned in the scriptures and be able to explain them. Krishna's teachings. So that is sannyas. Does that help?
Well, it sounds very difficult.
Yeah, we try also our best.
Maharaj, maybe I have some question which is related to his question. Do you know that how they call social mirror, right? Social mirror. When you socialize with people, they reflect your feelings, your whatever. Does this social mirror helps to get rid of those subtle apparatus?
Yeah. The point is, it's a change of desire in her heart that must take place. These external things, like psychology and different techniques, it may help a bit, that are supplementary to devotional service, to that, but the process is completely described in Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion. That Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, that the key is humility. That humility and wanting to become purified. One must desire it. That's most important. If one does not desire to become purified, all these things will not help.
But to get to that stage when you see that you have so many impurities, you have to know them, right? You have to see that and you have to have some people around you to show you that you're not still pure. I mean,
that's not how the process of Krishna consciousness works. If one chants and performs devotional service, then Krishna will reveal from in your heart all your impurities. Not all at the same time. Like, I give you an example. When I joined Radhadesh, that was in the beginning of the 90s, I felt so happy that after a month I was thinking, oh, a few weeks more and I'm a pure devotee. But then a little later some desires came back into my mind from which I was thinking that it was all gone. But what happened is that I came in association with devotees who were practicing sincerely. And it's like you have a glass. In the glass, at the bottom you have sand, and then clear water above. You see the clear water and the sand at the bottom. Then you come in association of devotees. You take a spoon. You start to stir. What's happening? It's coming up. And then you start to see, oh, I've still this attachment and that attachment. You pray to Krishna. If you are sincere, you pray to Krishna, please take it away. Help me to get rid of that. And so Krishna reveals you little by little. But it's by the association of devotees. Social mirror will help if your association have all devotees. Yes, it will help. They will tell you
what I meant.
But Krishna will also reveal you from within the heart. So there is an exchange. Both are valuable. Yes?
Yeah, related to that. Can you want something so bad, but you don't have the spiritual credit to get that? And the timing may not be quite there yet? And then the other part is the ascending, descending. You know, we can try very hard ascending, but really it's up to the descending principle because it comes from above. And how does that fall into play of, of us trying so much ourselves?
Yeah.
And then I may not be ready yet because I don't have the spiritual credit. And then, and I'm forcing something so much, but I'm not depending on that it's coming down. So where does grace and mercy come into the picture?
I will explain you according to Bhagavad Gita, but you must hear very carefully.
Okay.
Because it's not easy to understand.
Yeah, and I may not understand it, but I just... Yeah.
So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam pachtam pitipurvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. If you serve me with a little love, Krishna says, pitipurvakam, a little love, dadami, I'm going to give you something. Dadami, he says Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means spiritual realization from within the heart. So the purification means that you get spiritual realization from within the heart. And only Krishna gives that. No one else. And he says with this Buddhi Yoga, with this spiritual realization, you can go back to the spiritual world. But then the point is, Krishna says with Priti Purvakam, a little love. The problem is that we don't know even what love is. We think it's lust. And even that little love we don't have.
Right.
Therefore Krishna says that Vinipanepatsam Pariprashna Sevya Upadekshanti Dehinam Jnanas Tattvadakshana. Approach a spiritual master and serve him with and follow his instructions with humility. So if we please the spiritual master, and that's Krishna's system, in who is in the descending process coming from Krishna,
Right.
that if we please the spiritual master, then Krishna accepted as Priti Purvakam, a little love, and he will purify your heart. So it's Krishna who purifies your heart. If we surrender to him means following his instructions in Bhagavad Gita, all his instructions. And these are the instructions of the spiritual master. They are non-different. So that's the process. But much more I cannot say about that, but I know it's true. If you please Krishna, Krishna gives you realization. This is spiritual mathematics. Spiritual mathematics means 1 minus 1 is 1. If I give Krishna, try to give Krishna consciousness to others, I try to give it away. On a material platform, you give it away, you get rid of it. It becomes zero. But if you try to give it to others, Krishna gives you the realization from within the heart. And that's how it works. Therefore, this preaching is very important, trying to give it to others. And that's the key to advance very soon, very quickly. It's the key to get Krishna's mercy. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. So, thank you very much. I was very happy to be with you. Jai Prabhupada.